Right now, you probably have access to more light than a king did just a few hundred years ago. You flip a switch, and your room lights up instantly. But if someone lights a campfire instead, something strange happens. People drift toward it. Conversations slow down. Someone starts telling a story. Someone else stares into the flames without saying a word. And nobody thinks that's weird. For something as simple as burning wood, fire has an incredible ability to pull people together. It feels natural, almost familiar. The strange part is that this feeling didn't begin with camping trips or backyard bonfires. It's far older than cities, older than farming, older than writing. Long before humans built houses, they built evenings around fire. So, why does sitting around a fire still feel so comforting today? To answer that, we have to travel back to a world where the sun going down wasn't peaceful. It was terrifying. Imagine Earth nearly 2 million years ago. There are no villages, no roads, no walls, just open grasslands, forests, rivers, and predators that are much stronger than you. Early humans weren't at the top of the food chain. Far from it. They were clever, but physically unimpressive. They couldn't outrun a cheetah. They couldn't overpower a lion. Even climbing a tree wasn't always enough. Night made everything worse. As darkness spread across the landscape, the balance of power shifted toward animals that could see, smell, and hunt in the dark. For early humans, sunset often meant hiding and waiting until morning. At least, that's how life probably looked before one incredible discovery changed everything.
Fire.
Now here's something surprising. Humans didn't invent fire. Nature did. Lightning strikes have been setting forests on fire for hundreds of millions of years. Volcanoes did the same. Early humans almost certainly watched these natural fires with a mixture of fear and curiosity. The flames were dangerous. But after they burned out, something unusual remained. Cooked animals, roasted plants, open landscapes that attracted grazing animals. Fire destroyed, but it also created opportunities. The real question wasn't how to make fire. Not yet. The first challenge was much simpler. How do you keep it alive? Scientists have spent decades trying to answer exactly when humans first controlled fire. The evidence isn't perfectly clear, which makes this one of archaeology's biggest debates. One of the oldest and strongest clues comes from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. Inside the cave, researchers found microscopic traces of burned bone and ash dating to around 1 million years ago. The discovery suggested that fire wasn't simply blown inside by the wind. It had likely been used deep within the cave itself. If that's true, someone wasn't just watching fire. They were managing it, keeping it alive, protecting it. Think about how difficult that would have been. There were no matches, no lighters, no gas stoves. Losing your fire might mean waiting days, weeks, or even months before finding another natural blaze. So fire wasn't just useful, it was precious. Someone probably had the important job of making sure it never went out. Imagine carrying glowing embers across the landscape instead of simply putting a lighter in your pocket. Suddenly, fire wasn't an event anymore. It became a responsibility. A few 100,000 years later, another remarkable sight appears in the story. Gesher Banat Yaakov, in present-day Israel. Archaeologists uncovered clear signs that people repeatedly used fire about 780,000 years ago. Not randomly. In the same places. Again and again. That matters because it suggests planning. These weren't people reacting to nature. They were organizing their lives around controlled fire. And that's a huge leap. Because once you can reliably control fire, you stop adapting to nature quite so much. Nature starts adapting to you. The first obvious benefit was warmth. Humans began spreading into cooler regions that would have been difficult to survive without heat. A cold night could become survivable. A freezing winter became possible to endure. But warmth alone doesn't explain why we still enjoy staring at flames today. Something even more important was happening.
Dinner. Cooking may seem ordinary now.
You probably don't celebrate every time pasta boils. But for our ancestors, cooking transformed food itself. Raw meat is tough. Many roots are bitter. Some plants are nearly impossible to digest. Heat changes all of that. It softens food, kills many dangerous microbes, unlocks more calories. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham has argued that cooking fundamentally changed human evolution by giving our ancestors access to far more usable energy. More energy meant larger brains. Larger brains meant better planning, better communication, better tools. In a way, every hot meal became an investment, not just in survival, in intelligence. That's a remarkable trade. But here's the thing. Cooking wasn't the biggest gift fire gave us. The biggest gift came after everyone finished eating. Picture a small group sitting together as darkness settles over the landscape. The meal is done. Nobody needs to gather food until morning. For the first time all day, there is time. Time to talk. Time to teach. Time to remember. Before fire, much of the day was consumed by finding enough food to survive. After sunset, there wasn't much anyone could safely do. Fire changed that. It extended the human day. Those extra hours may have become some of the most important hours in our entire evolutionary history, because knowledge grows fastest when people share it. How do you track an animal? Which berries make you sick? Where does the river flood? How do you shape a sharper spear? None of those lessons had books. They had voices. And many of those voices were probably heard beside a fire. Without realizing it, our ancestors may have built the world's first classroom, not with walls, with glowing embers. And that changed far more than their evenings. Those conversations did more than pass the time. They quietly changed what it meant to be human. Imagine you're a child living 300,000 years ago. You aren't born knowing which animals are dangerous. You don't automatically know how to shape a stone hand axe or where the nearest fresh water is after the dry season. Someone has to teach you. And the safest, easiest time to do that is after dark, when the day's work is finally over and everyone is gathered in one place. Around the fire, knowledge stopped dying with individuals. Instead, it could be passed from one generation to the next. One good idea became everyone's good idea. A smarter way to hunt. A better way to make tools. A safer place to sleep. Those ideas didn't stay inside one person's head. They spread. That might sound obvious now, but it was revolutionary, because knowledge compounds. Every generation starts where the last one finished.
Think about that.
Almost everything you know exists because countless humans shared information before you were born. And some of that chain may have begun around campfires. Fire also changed something less obvious. It changed our relationships. When people spend time together without constantly working, something interesting happens. They bond. They laugh. They argue. They tell stories. Scientists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies have noticed that storytelling often becomes a nighttime activity. Not because people planned it that way, because darkness naturally brings people together. Stories entertain.
But they also teach.
A story about someone getting lost can become a lesson about survival. A story about greed can become a lesson about sharing. Even jokes have value. They strengthen friendships. They build trust. And trust is one of humanity's greatest survival tools. Here's a funny thought. Your favorite late-night conversation with friends may have roots stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. Different topics. Same instinct. Then there was safety. Not perfect safety. Fire couldn't stop every predator, but it gave humans an advantage. Many large animals avoid open flames. Even when they didn't, fire created light, noise, and confidence. Instead of hiding silently in complete darkness, people could rest together while the fire burned nearby. That matters more than it sounds. Sleep is risky in the wild. Someone always has to stay alert. Some researchers believe early humans may have taken turns watching both the fire and the surrounding landscape through the night. The campfire wasn't simply producing heat. It was producing peace of mind. A small island of light surrounded by uncertainty. Perhaps that's why modern campfires still feel calming. Your brain knows you're sitting safely in a campground. But ancient instincts don't disappear overnight, especially not after hundreds of thousands of years. Here's what makes this so important. Fire didn't just help humans survive. It helped humans become social in entirely new ways. It created a daily meeting place, a place where children learned, where adults planned, where disagreements were settled, where stories became traditions, where strangers slowly became family. Without realizing it, humans had invented something civilization would keep reinventing forever. The village square, the family dinner table, the neighborhood cafe, even the living room, different buildings. Same idea. Bring people together. Share food. Share stories. Leave a little wiser than you arrived. That's a pattern our species never really abandoned. As thousands of years passed, fire became more than a survival tool. It became part of culture. Ancient people used it in ceremonies. They carried sacred flames. They built myths explaining where fire came from. In Greek mythology, Prometheus steals fire from the gods and gives it to humanity. Many indigenous cultures around the world have their own stories about fire's origins. Different continents, different traditions. Yet the same message appears again and again. Fire changes everything. That isn't a coincidence. It's a memory, one carried through generations in the form of stories. Eventually, humans learned to create fire instead of simply preserving it. Friction, sparking stones, carefully prepared tinder. Fire was no longer a lucky discovery after a lightning storm. It became technology. And once humans could reliably make fire, innovation accelerated.
Pottery,
Metalworking.
bricks, glass.
Every one of those breakthroughs depended on mastering heat. The campfire eventually became the furnace. The furnace became industry. Industry transformed the modern world. It's amazing when you think about it. The glowing campfire that once roasted roots and frightened away predators eventually led to skyscrapers, satellites, and smartphones. Quite a career for a few burning sticks. Yet for all our technological progress, something curious remains. We still gather around fire. We light candles during celebrations. We build fireplaces inside homes that already have central heating. People spend money on fire pits they technically don't need. Camping videos attract millions of views online. Some people even watch 8-hour recordings of crackling fireplaces on television. It's just burning wood. Except it isn't. It's one of the oldest environments your brain recognizes. Fire asks almost nothing of you. You don't have to solve a puzzle. You don't have to answer emails. You simply watch. The flames never repeat themselves. Every flicker is different. Every crackle feels random. It's nature performing live. No subscription required. Scientists are still studying why flames are so mesmerizing. Some research suggests that spending time around natural fire can reduce stress and encourage relaxation. Other researchers think it's the gentle, unpredictable movement that captures our attention without overwhelming it. The full answer probably isn't one single thing. It's thousands of generations of experiences layered on top of each other.
Warmth,
Safety,
food,
family, stories,
rest.
hope, all connected to one glowing circle in the dark. When you grow up with that pattern for hundreds of thousands of years, it leaves a mark. So here's the full picture. Long before humans built cities, they learned to protect fire. Then they learned to control it. Then they learned to cook with it. Then they gathered around it to teach, laugh, plan, and tell stories. Those nightly gatherings strengthened families, spread knowledge across generations, and helped transform clever primates into deeply social humans. And eventually, that same mastery of fire laid the foundation for technologies that reshaped the entire planet. All from a flame that refused to go out. So the next time you're sitting beside a campfire, watching sparks drift into the night without really knowing why it feels so satisfying, remember this. You're not just enjoying a warm evening. You're repeating a ritual older than cities, older than farming, older than history itself. For countless generations, fire was where humans became more than survivors. It was where they became communities. And maybe that's why, even in a world filled with electric lights, screens, and endless distractions, a few dancing flames can still make you feel completely at home. If you enjoyed exploring this tiny piece of humanity's story, there are plenty more ancient mysteries hiding inside the everyday things we all do.